Wow. Good evening. I don't know how to break up the enthusiasm out there. I'm so excited to have all of you here. Good evening. I am calling to order the City Council meeting of the City of Pacifica for September 8th. Roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Degree.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Irvin.
Present.
Mayor Neihardt.
Present. And the next is the salute to the flag, which will be led by Councilmember Stone.
Please join me in saluting our flag. Excuse me. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And closed session report. Okay, thank you very much. Now, that brings us to our consent calendar, and there is one change that has to be announced. We will be pulling item number 8 from the consent calendar and placing it as the very first item under consideration. So we will be doing the presentations and all of that after we do consent calendar, and item number 8 will be the first thing that we take up under consideration. What's the pleasure of the council? Councilmember O'Neill?
I would like to remove item number 5 from the consent calendar and have a separate discussion about it.
Okay. Do you want that as a separate consideration item?
Well, it's more information. It's more for information from staff. That's
Okay, then if you just want information, we can do that here.
all. Okay.
Do you have a question about that item?
I had a phone call from somebody asking about why we didn't patronize a more local car dealership than Putnam. And so I just wanted, went through Lori, and she said Van could tell us why we are purchasing this
Okay.
car, et cetera.
Staff?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. The item that is being discussed is the purchase of the Chevy Tahoe. That is a replacement vehicle. So what we do is, once the vehicle reaches a certain mileage, especially for our police department, we replace it. This vehicle is a 2009 model, and has more than 110,000 miles in it. The reason why we're sticking with the same model, which is a Chevy, is because of the setup. You know, all the gun racks, the accessories that we put in there, which is essential to the function of this vehicle as it's being used. This vehicle in particular is being used as a, like your initial command post, so to speak. It's been driven almost 24 hours a day in a sense, because the watch commander is the one that's using it. There are 4 watch commanders within our police department, and they alternately use this particular vehicle. This is one of its kind only. And again, it's because of the setup. The setup costs a lot. It costs about $10,000 to $15,000 just for the purchase of the setup. So you want to reuse the light bars, you know, the gun racks, and all of those accessories. That's the reason why we're sticking with that particular model. I hope that addresses the question.
For me.
Okay.
Thank you, Van.
Any other questions about that? All right. Pleasure of the council. Councilmember Stone?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I was going to second.
Thank you. Okay. Then please vote. And that passes 5-0. Okay, that brings us to some very special presentations that we have tonight, and we're very excited about those. Now, the very first one is the Sanchez Arts Center. And we have a proclamation on the 2014, yes, Kathy, the 2014 Kent Award recipient. So this is a proclamation from us. Whereas the Kent Awards are given to outstanding and innovative programs whether in the classroom or outside the classroom, as well as district-wide programs. Whereas applicants must demonstrate their programs promote student success and employ a high degree of creativity. And whereas the Sanchez Arts Center created the Sanchez Goes to School project in 2008, and since that time has continuously provided visual arts education at no cost to children of the city of Pacifica, in particular to students of Sunset Ridge Elementary School. And whereas Sanchez Goes to School has been acknowledged as an exemplary program through the presentation of the San Mateo County School Boards Association 2014 J. Russell Kent Award, whereas the Arts Center has helped to bring recognition to the City of Pacifica, the Pacifica School District, and Sunset Ridge Elementary as providers of outstanding educational programs. Therefore, I, Mary Ann Neihart, Mayor of the City of Pacifica, want to recognize, on behalf of the City Council, want to recognize and proclaim Sanchez Arts Center to be a key contributor to the quality of life in the City of Pacifica, as well as an important resource for the youth of our city and a valued community asset. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Of course you get to talk.
Thank you so much. I'll be really quick. I want to thank you, Mayor Neihart and council members. And, you know, it's National Arts Education Week, so this is a nice way to celebrate it. I'm really, really proud to be here and accept this proclamation, probably mostly because it recognizes that Sanchez Arts Center is not just some artists in their studios and some art galleries, and that we want to be in the community and we want to serve, and going to Sunset Ridge is about as far away, Sunset Ridge and SAC are about as far apart from each other as two entities could be and still remain in Pacifica. So I hope to find more needs to fill within the community, outside of our facility, or at our facility, whatever. We just want to serve. And so I have to acknowledge that this happened because of the Pacifica Collaborative, and that Lynn Gallo was also a member, and she suggested we bring art to Sunset Ridge. And then we got funding from people like Art for More and Crescent Porter Hale Foundation and Target. And then we got that award because Ellie Conduff is a great principal, and she went to bat for us. And Amanda Vaughn, who's our current teacher there, is a firecracker, and she's just really an example of, I think, who I would want teaching my kids. Dedicated, talented. And so then I just want to personally thank our board of directors and staff and volunteers for letting me have this job, because I love this work, and thank you very much for supporting and recognizing our efforts.
Oh, thank you. But I've got people that want to say things to you. Okay. Wait, you have to stay because we all want to talk to.
Oh.
So, Councilmember Degree.
I was privileged to be able to attend this ceremony, and it was a proud moment. It was a proud moment for the city, definitely for Sunset Ridge and for the Sanchez Art. Being there and hearing about all the county awards, it was definitely a wonderful, definitely wonderful. Great marketing for our city and for our schools. And thank you for all the hard work, because there was hard work, and for the children's enthusiasm. It was a delight. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stone.
I just want to say congratulations and thank you for everything that you do in the community. I think we all know that it's not just a bunch of artists in the, working away in their own studios. And I do appreciate your efforts getting out into the community as well, because that's really as important to bring these things that you guys do to everyone that might not otherwise see that. And I really value that, and I think the community does value that. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll keep trying.
We've got a couple more lights, but I just recognize that we should acknowledge Superintendent Tuckloff is in the audience. And she's one of those people that contributes a lot in our school districts and makes it a really much better place. So thank you also for supporting arts in the schools. Councilmember O'Neill.
I just got to say, I've been on the school board for so many years that it really, one of the strengths and the best strengths that this school district has is the support of the community. I know there's the partnership with Sanchez Arts Center. There's also the partnership with Spindrift School of Performing Arts. And also, we can't forget the fact that the citizens of Pacifica passed a bond for the remodeling and also parcel taxes to help the school district go out. So I think it really is important to acknowledge the community support, of which Sanchez is definitely a part of, and also kind of sing the hosannas of Sunset Ridge. At one point, Sunset Ridge of the test scores had the highest gain of any school in San Mateo County. So that's their API went up over 50 points in 1 year. And a lot of that has to do with the creativity left and right hemisphere and all that, you know, and everything, I guess. I don't know. But anyhow, I just wanted to congratulate the school district. What are you laughing at? The school district, and I am also the Sanchez Arts Center. And you're Morning Nichols, right?
No.
What's your name?
No.
Morning Nichols is
this
with
is
Pacifica
Kathleen Silva.
Performances, which
Yes.
is located
Oh, okay.
at the same address, but it is a different
This is
organization.
Kathleen Silva.
Oh, I know they're different. I just.
But I'm Kathleen Salvia.
Okay, I've never
I
met
didn't say
Maureen
my
Nichols, and
name,
I've always
sorry.
heard her name because
Sorry.
it's an unusual
I
name.
should have introduced you.
Yeah.
I-
But thank you, and a job well done to both the district and Sanchez Arts Center.
Okay. And Mayor Pro Tem.
I as well would just like to congratulate you for this incredible accomplishment. The Ken Awards are very prestigious and very highly respected, and it takes a lot to get an award, and I am so impressed with the collaboration between the school district and the Arts Center, and it's just such a wonderful thing for the students and the community, and it's just lovely to see this happening. I know for many, many years I've heard many of the names that Mayor Nyhart mentioned, and they're still going at it, just continuously devoting so much time and energy to our children, and there can't be a better cause. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. It's really wonderful to see these types of collaborations, and we are grateful that you're here.
You're welcome. The pleasure's ours.
And Kathleen, you
Now?
have my signature and my great endorsement as always. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was fun.
Nice to meet you, Kathleen.
You have to sing for him now.
I've never met her either.
She's a good
All
singer.
right. Yay. And Kathleen, as much as we're proud of you, I have to say that the bulk of the audience is here for our next presentations. Yeah.
Mutual.
Well, we have some pretty special guests here tonight, and I'm very honored to give a proclamation and individual proclamations to each of them. We want to say, as a city council, congratulations. You have done us so proud. I can't even begin to start, but I will read the proclamation as I did before. For Pacifica American Little League 2014, the 11, 12-year-old All-Stars, whereas the Pacifica American Little League All-Stars went undefeated through divisional to make Western Regional Championship, and whereas the Pacifica American Little League All-Stars won the California state title within the Western Regional Tournament, being the first team in Pacifica's history to win the divisional title and the state title. And whereas the team won District 52 Championship, Section 3 Championship, and then Division 2 North Cal Championship, followed by the California State Championship and the Western Regional Finalist, and whereas Pacifica American Little League ranks as one of the smallest leagues by boundary and population in District 52, of the 8 leagues represented at the Western Region Tournament, Pacifica American was the smallest number-wise with 435 players. And whereas The Pacifica American Little League is a program of service to the youth of our community, dedicated to teaching sportsmanship and the competitive will to win, as well as furthering physical fitness and well-being through healthful associations with other youth under proper leadership. And whereas players, managers, coaches, officials, parents, umpires, and countless others work in an atmosphere of wholesome community activity to provide valuable training for the participants of the sport. Now, therefore, I, Mary Ann Neihart, Mayor, on behalf of the entire council, hereby urge all citizens to be cognizant of the importance of organized sports in the development of our most valuable assets, our youth, and urge all citizens to join the City of Pacifica in recognizing the work and dedication of these outstanding athletes. Congratulations from the City Council. Now, I want you guys to come up, and somebody's going to say something, or you all can. I don't care. But we want to definitely make sure you get out here so people at home can see you, and that you get certificates, and we give you all a big congratulations. I cannot believe state title.
I know.
Yes, we need a photo op, definitely. Why doesn't the council come down and join me? Okay. You really do. Congratulations. You rock all of them. Very good. Congratulations. How you doing? Okay, let's get the council in here. We'll all do a group thing. We'll get behind you.
Together,
Yeah, in the back.
tall in the back. Coaches too.
Proud.
Karen, could you go on the other side? Excellent. 1, 2, 3.
Come back. Have a nice vacation. You deserve it.
It's your face. Yeah. It's your face.
Shower.
They don't always smell like that.
Oh, yeah. So, at the close, this is spokesperson. Yeah? Thank you. Oh, and Boris. No, no. Yeah. All right.
So we'll go back up, and then if you guys want to say something, please.
Okay.
Go back up. Go back up.
We're gonna go back up. You guys can talk. Say these things.
Dartmouth.
You guys, actually, I think we also have some additional person who might be here who wants to give you some recognition as well. So do you want to do that before you say something? We have Chris Hunter here from Don Horsley's office. Supervisor Horsley.
Congratulations. This is a great honor. The San Mateo County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution honoring and commending the Pacifica American Little League 11, 12-year-old All-Stars this year for your tremendous year. And many of the same things that the mayor spoke are in our resolution too. I just wanted to read the final part of it, which is that now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of San Mateo County hereby honors and commends the Pacifica American Little League 2014 11-12 All-Stars for their outstanding team success in 2014 and offers them, their parents, and coaches heartfelt congratulations and admiration. And this wonderful picture out here, that should have been on Sports Illustrated. Congratulations.
Okay.
Get in there.
I guess I'll talk. Steve Falk, manager of the team. Excuse me. Just on behalf of the kids and the coaches and the parents, it was an honor to represent Pacifica down there, and just the whole thing we did. I can't describe how much fun it was. Just to spend that much time with these guys and just to represent the city of Pacifica. Just seeing our name on ESPN is pretty cool. So on behalf of these guys, just thank you. And it's fun. I wish we could do it again, but we can't. Too old. But just to represent the city was great. So thank you guys for everything, and hopefully next year another team could do it, and we'll be back in here. So, thank you.
Congratulations. Does somebody from the team want to say something? Come on, go ahead. Now's your chance. Okay,
Get up there.
All right. Woo! Go ahead.
What's your name?
You can pull the mic down to you.
He's gonna get taller.
There you go.
We had a good season, and it was hard, but we did pretty good, and I was happy with that. And we went pretty far. It was cool to go that far and represent Pacifica, and that's about it.
Yeah. Just for the record, you guys, don't go away. Just for the record, would each of you say your name into the mic so we have that recorded? So we have all of you here?
Maybe the position they played?
Yeah, and your position.
That'll make them more comfortable.
Yeah, somebody's just got to start it off.
In there, odd boy.
Spencer Corellis, and I played outfield and catcher like once.
Okay. Way to go, Spencer. Next.
I'm Mateo Jimenez, and I played center field.
Okay.
My name is Shane Hawkins, and I played left and right field.
Okay.
My name is Christian Falk, and I played shortstop.
My name's Elijah Ricks, and I play center field and pitcher.
Okay.
My name is George Salgado, I play right field.
My name is Justice Turner, and I played catcher.
My name is Tyler Shaw, and I played second base.
My name is Nate Azapardi, and I played left field.
My name is Chris Rodriguez, and I played third base.
My name is Andrew Harkness, and I played first.
All right. Did we get everybody? Okay, we're missing at least 2 managers there, I think. Assistant managers?
My name's Len Harkness, and I coach first base.
Way to go.
My name's Dave Shaw, and I coach the other base.
All right. Okay, and Horace, we can't have a sports thing and not have Horace say something, right? Way to go, team.
We have one that's not here, Cruz Thompson, outfielder, pitcher.
Okay, all right.
Folks, you just don't know what kind of history this team made.
Yeah.
I've been covering sports for Pacifica for 45 years. This is probably going to be one of the high landmarks of Pacifica, going this far to be an outstanding team. And really, you think about it, 1 inning might have been the difference of these guys going on to Williamsport, Pennsylvania to play for a national championship. That's phenomenal, so that's great. I have to also say, I spent time with these young men down in San Bernardino, and they handled themselves beautifully. First class. They had to be the top kids down there. They were beautiful kids. Everybody was excited about them being there. When they were off the field, they were first class. When they were on the field, they were first class. They made Pacifica proud. We're very excited about them.
Yeah. Horace, you're right. It was 1 inning. I did watch, and I have to say, though, 2,200 teams you beat in California. I think that by itself is outstanding, way out there. So I'm pretty dang proud of that. And yeah, I did get a real kick out of seeing Pacifica on ESPN. Okay, Councilmember Stone.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say congratulations again, guys. And you're really lucky to have a good group of kids. I played the same league as you guys, or not the same, not in Pacifica Little League, but in 11 and 12-year-old All-Stars, and I'm still friends with some of those guys today, so it's a really great experience. I'm glad you guys are able to go far. Your coaches in the league is obviously outstanding. Just your fundamentals, the way you carried yourself, and you, like Horace said, you really carried yourself well off the field also, and then you could really tell, and that all the reports say that. So thank you very much for that, and really making your parents, your league, your coaches proud, and yourselves proud. And I just really hope that you guys enjoy this experience, but also too, if more of you guys are going to play baseball, to keep practicing and keep going, because there's more and farther to go. So you really did the city proud, and I was really impressed by how many kids pitched on your team. It seemed like you're always ready to come in any spot and throw strikes, and that was really impressive. Sitting at home watching with my family, and it was really cool to see my 5-year-olds all excited about Pacifica, and you guys really got younger kids excited too, and people that were a little older excited about baseball that kind of remember when we were kids as well. So it's really awesome. Keep it up, and I hope that whatever you guys do, you really take the same initiative that you had here with this and apply it to that. So congratulations, guys.
Councilmember Degree.
All right, you weren't here, but this city was abuzz. I drive all over the city, and this place was buzzing. It was so excited about you. And even if they couldn't see you on TV, they were hearing you on the radio and by word of mouth. And then I went to your barbecue, and I saw that you were having fun. You were still having fun. Your teamwork still shone through, and you're very humble guys, so I think that's incredible. And I'm glad that there's a Fog Fest, and you'll be the Grand Marshal, so everybody can see you in the parade and cheer you. So I believe that's true.
You're going to be with me.
Whatever, they're going to be at the Grand Marshal.
They're going to be with me, yeah. Councilmember O'Neill.
I just wanted to really congratulate you. I also went to the barbecue along with Len and Sue, and I was talking there, yakking with the president of the Little League, and he was talking about how he played baseball on that same field. And then I had coached for Little League for a little while, and he looked at my hat and said that was the hat they were wearing when I was playing baseball. But It made me feel old, but I just wanted to say that's what's nice about Pacifica is the family and generations that keep on doing the same thing and doing what you did. And this is a memory that I hope you'll be able to pass on to your kids, and something that you could talk about the glory days in Pacifica, and maybe hopefully you'll be on that same field then. So congratulations.
And Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I'm just another Pacifica resident that is so incredibly proud of all of you. You just brought so much pride to the entire city and so much enjoyment, and we all went and we watched ESPN when we could, and we rooted for you, and we're so impressed with your sportsmanship and your hard-working ethic, and the fact that you got there is just amazing for everybody involved. I grew up with a family of baseball players. My brothers played since he was a young boy, and my nephews play, and my son played, and it was just such a dream of theirs to get to where you are today. So just take in this moment and be so proud of yourselves for how you carried yourself and how hard you played, and having the support of your families and the managers and coaches is just such an incredibly great thing to see. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you so much for coming here and sharing your win with us. It was just unbelievable to watch, and keep going. Thank you.
And just one last thing, you know, I can't thank, we've paid a lot of attention. You guys did hard work, but I know that you couldn't possibly have done that hard work without all the people behind you. And I think there's a few of them in this room that we should thank, right? Like your parents. Yeah. So thanks to all the parents. You made Pacifica. You put us on the map. Thank you so much. I will see you all the last Saturday in September, right? Okay. We're looking forward to the Fog Fest. Thank you again. All right. I don't think anything in the meeting could quite outdo that. So, but we're going to try. We have no public, the PG&E presentation has been postponed due to the expert's death in the family or cancer, illness, I can't remember, something. But we will have that at the next meeting. We have no public hearings tonight, so I'm going to turn this over to Council Communications. And I have one card for oral communications. So, Council Communications, anybody? We've had a month off, you know, kind of. Councilmember Degree.
Right. Yeah, I thought you were going to have something to say. Yeah, I can't remember. Actually, did we have a time after the plovers? The city put up the plover with thank you to all the residents who worked so hard in getting us towards that movable fence to protect the plovers, and for the school children who put so much effort. And the signs that were made by school children are just extremely, they're amazing. They're just really exquisite, and give the sense of what we're about when we're being careful out there for the little birds during their time that they're here. And thanks again to everybody for that. As you know, elections are coming up, and so I'm assuming that the Tribune will have it, and the PCT, there will be a lot of candidate panels, which is for those of us who love freedom, which is all of us, that your opportunity to hear those people who are running to be your elected representatives, you have an opportunity to hear them all at the same time in the same place. So looking forward to seeing you there. And also, I don't know if you all realize, but at one time, residents were able to see and listen to council meetings and other meetings that the city government puts on. But if you switch to Dish and a few others, you don't get that anymore. And I would hope that the public would rise up and scream about that, as that's part of your civil rights, I would say, that you have an opportunity to be able to see your elected representatives, you know, like this kind of an evening, that you can see it. You don't have to come here. Some people can't get here. So I would hope that you would use that opportunity to speak up. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Okay, I attended and was a judge at the Pedro Point Chili Cook-Off, which was really kind of good. It was like, I don't know, 10 different kinds of chili and ranging in all colors from gray to the red. They also went to the Little League barbecue celebration. And actually, same two council members who were at the Chili Cook-Off were also there. I also attended this League of Cities conference down in Los Angeles last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there were some very interesting things that other cities are doing that I discussed with the city manager today about maybe Pacifica moving forward and looking at that. And then today I went to the JPA library meeting, and just for everybody's reference, they are beginning to work on their strategic plan for the next 5 years. So if you do have some input or something you want to say about that, maybe check their website and see what's going on and all of that. And also just, I know, there is a school, an election happening in PSD, and they are also going to have some candidate forums, so you might want to call the district office there if you have an interest in looking to see the candidates running for office there.
Okay. Councilmember Stone, did you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Most of my committee meetings have been canceled this month because the city, of course, we took them. We took a break there in the last meeting in August, and then tomorrow's economic development, so we'll have that. And then also my ambulance JPA meeting for this month has been canceled. But I'll be back with a BPAC report, I believe, in 2 meetings. So for that. And then for Councilmember Degree's concern about the meetings, I believe that PCT, you can stream the meetings online, so anyone with an internet connection can see those. So if there is that concern, please go to the PCT website so you can watch the meetings. Thanks.
And Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I attended several beautification advisory committee meetings, and we talked about some of the projects that we're still looking at doing, especially in the community center and around Pacifica, and so that's very exciting. And there's also a subcommittee where we're discussing, it was brought about with Mayor Nyhart's idea of having a Pacifica's Pride Beautification Recognition Awards. So if you are interested in doing some improvements to your home and want to enter into the contest, I really encourage you to do so. It's a great thing to do to show your pride of Pacifica and that you care so much about the quality of your neighborhood and your home. So I encourage you to get involved in that as well. Let's see, I attended the emergency preparedness meeting, and I'm looking forward tonight to a presentation that they're giving because they actually contribute a great deal to the safety of our community, and you'll get to hear a lot about that tonight. So I'm looking forward to hearing the overview coming up right after this. And then I attended a legislative committee meeting, and we discussed the water bond that's going to be on the November ballot, as well as some stormwater legislation. And they've looked at the definition of water, and they've changed the definition of water so we can include that and get some more revenues for some of the community projects that need to be done in the county. So there's some important work going on there, and we'll again be going to another legislative meeting on Thursday, and that will continue. So it will be very interesting to see what's being brought forth. And then also, I wasn't able to attend the Pacifica School Volunteers meeting due to a conflict in my schedule, but they've been very active this past year. They've had over 27,132 volunteer hours. So I just want to really thank all the volunteers that helped the Pacifica School Volunteer Committee. Is just an amazing group of people that do tremendous work on behalf of our children. So that's very important and needs to be recognized, and I appreciate that as well. And that's about it.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
I just had a quick thing. I just wanted to mention that if you're out there on Facebook or other things, I think it's really cool. The Beach Coalition has the garbage bucket challenge going on, kind of a takeoff on the ice bucket challenge. Which whoever thought of that, it's so trash bucket. Excuse me. Pardon me for plagiarizing that, but. Anyway, so I thought it was really cool, whoever's idea that it was. I have been challenged, so thank you by Cindy and, oh my gosh, by somebody else too. Oh, and Deirdre Finnegan, yes. So thank you for giving me 72 hours, Deirdre Finnegan. I appreciate that because I would have failed at 24 hours. And I saw Mayor Pro Tem Irvin also out there doing it. Already completed, gold star, wonderful. So I just wanted to mention that because who knows in this room who may be challenged by me. So,
and
dun, dun, dun.
I believe we do have Lynn Adams available in the room. And
Actually,
I think she is the originator of the trash bucket.
Good job, Lynn. That was awesome.
She's going to bring it up in orals, I know. And we're already challenged, just so you know. I just wanted to say thank you for going to all and attending and representing the city, everybody who did things. I was off turning older, crossing into another decade of my life. Yes, I was gone for 3 weeks. So I am happy to be back, and I do want to say just a couple of things that are coming up. City and County Association of Governments is meeting on Thursday evening, and that's the Legislative Committee is first, and then the regular committee. But I will be representing CCAG at the groundbreaking and opening ceremonies for the new Burlingame interchange. And for those of you that don't know, it's another opportunity to kind of talk about our STIP funds, our money that comes from the state to the county is managed collectively in our county by the City and County Association of Governments. So it's really kind of important for us to not only be an active participant and a working participant, but I've been fortunate enough to be selected or elected as chair of that group. So that's why I'm representing us at that particular function. And I will be there as the chair, but not as the mayor of Pacifica. So if you happen to be around, I think we're going to have another groundbreaking in town on some of the projects that are coming up, but that hasn't been nailed down. I'd hoped it would be announced tonight, but it's still in the process. I also wanted to mention the Pacifica Pride Awards, and the subcommittee that's been working on that has been doing an outstanding job, and so I hope people are getting excited about putting pride back into our community in many ways, but mostly in how we show curb appeal. And there's a lot you can do even without water, and we really want to encourage and reward drought tolerance as well. So I want to put that forward. I have a couple more things to say, but they will be part of other agenda items. So with that, I believe that's all we have for council tonight. And that brings us to oral communications. And I have 3 cards. The first of which, and just for people who have not been here before, we have been reading the little announcement just to remind you about oral communications. And I tried to shorten it up, but apparently it was misunderstood, so I want to make sure that I do read that. This is the portion of the agenda that is available for the public to address the City Council on any issue that's not on the agenda. Any person wishing to address council shall be recognized by the mayor during oral communications, provided that during the oral communications portion of the agenda, only items not on the agenda for that meeting may be addressed. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body, not to any individual member. Council members shall not enter into a debate with speakers. Under oral communications, a maximum time of 3 minutes will be allowed. And just to make sure you're not confused, because I know we'll have some new speakers tonight, there's a green light when you're talking, that's for 2 minutes. A yellow light comes on when you have 1 minute left. Don't confuse that with needing to stop. The red light is for stopping. And I do have to help you end at 3 minutes. And pursuant to Pacifica Municipal Code Title II, Chapter 1, Section 2, well, anyway, it's there, it's 1.118, any person making impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks, or who becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall be called to order by the presiding officer, and if such conduct continues, may, at the direction of the presiding officer, be ordered barred from further attendance before council during the meeting. With that, I want to encourage people to share with us issues that are not on the agenda. And the first one of which is Roger Medler, followed by Therese Dyer and Lynn Adams.
Anyway, where's the light at? Is that the light over there?
It's right there in front of you.
I'm sorry, didn't see it. All right, anyway, I've sent you all a package, and I haven't gotten no response from any one of you. So, I mean, why don't you answer? You wanted to communicate. I don't know why you don't communicate. We could get this over with if you just do a little communicating. And I'm surely not going to invite you to my house, that's for sure. So I guess George White is leaving, so I'm sorry to hear that. Anyway, did you have to get a restraining order against him in order to leave? I'm sure your dream team could come up with something. So I have a letter from Lori. It says your assertion that a business cannot operate without a certificate of occupancy and is not correct, meaning that the business can operate without a certificate of occupancy. And according to Section 110, that's not true. So I sent in some records requests, and the records request says you are not seeking identifiable public records. And then the city above that says the city wishes to cooperate to the fullest. No, it don't. Anyway. So I wrote the North County Fire Authority because I couldn't get Richard Johnson to answer any of my questions, or the city of Pacifica. I said, don't reply, with Richard Johnson or the city of Pacifica. Who replied? Richard Johnson. Anyway, I was asking for a fire lane, which is supposed to be within 150 feet of my house, and that says no documentations. But there is documentations because I gave Lori the documentation, and I never heard nothing from her. So she never called or emailed me. She don't have a response with me like all of you do. I haven't gotten any response from any of you. I don't know what kind of city council this is, but if I was George White, I would have left too. Lori, I understand you're involved in the Jason Perdoza child sex abuse scandal in Walnut Creek. Could we get any information or where we could find more information on that? And so anyway, I send in request letters and I talk to you in person. I go to city council meetings and nobody answers anything. And you call this a meeting? You call this serving the community? I don't think this is fair to us. Anyway, Nyhart, I was talking to you. I was talking to Kevin Mullins at the Democratic meeting, and I asked for his help because you would not enforce any of the laws in Pacifica. And you were sitting right behind me, and you wouldn't even get up to offer any assistance to us. Mr. Medler, could I help you? Is there anything I could do? Could I look into it? Could I get back with you? You're our mayor. Then again, at the Democratic meeting, I said, where do we go for public records? And you said, oh, you signed the paper. That's the same excuse Lori Tinfoil has. So anyway, have a good evening.
That's it, Roger. And again, let me remind you not to talk to any one council member or any one staff, but general issues. Therese Dyer, followed by Lynn Adams, followed by Julie Lancel.
Good evening, Teresa Dyer, 1408 Crespi Drive. We can be very proud of our Little League, and I think maybe someday we'll have a sports complex at the quarry, I hope. If I'm running for city council, and if I get in, that's going to be my priority. The other thing is, I also attended their barbecue. I also attended the ERA meeting rally with Jackie Spear in Redwood City. And yesterday, I was the only one that attended the services of Vigatelli, a former city council person of Pacifica. And I was disappointed that nobody else showed up. But anyway, in honor of Vigatelli, I would like to see maybe a street named after her or something like that, like Gene Fossler and Nick Gustway, and maybe we can look into that. The other thing is, at one of the goal-setting meetings, and he knows who he is, but he requested that each of you get a $3,000 stipend. And I'm wondering if I know you can't answer me, but I wonder if that's true, because the budget reflects different. So in view of that, in view of Vigatelli, who was our watchdog for Pacifica, I'd like to read you a letter that she wrote, a letter to the editor, and it says, Editor, after reading Councilman Neilhart's letter in the Tribune, it is obvious to me that she chose to ignore the facts. At the regular council meeting on June 8th, she and fellow council members announced and voted on item number 7 and stated that because of hard times, they were untying themselves from the management cafeteria plan and taking a cut of $5,580 a year on their benefit plan. What Ms. Neilhart did not tell you was that Resolution 45-2009 was attached to item number 7 that gave the council members an additional $100 for their dental plan. This raised their benefits back up to $1,020 a month. This resolution was never revealed to the public. It was unanimously passed with a single vote on item 7, with no mention of the attached Resolution 45-2009. Does not this action therefore negate the so-called benefit cut? With Resolution 45-009, the council's pay and benefit package now comes to $1,020 a month per member. When their wages are added at $700 a month, the sum comes to $1,720 a month. This council's entire budget for this year comes to $157,500. So much for honesty and transparency. The public and the employees of this city deserve better. By Gatelli, former vice mayor. And so I hope that you will end this meeting with a moment of silence for Vi, because she was a real fighter for the city.
Thank you, Teresa.
If I could have just one more minute. Mike Mooney asked me to announce that he's going to have a vigil at the Mooney's Garden at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
And Beta Sigma Phi will be providing the candle holders. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Adams, followed by Julie Lancel. And that's all the cards I have.
The beach can't take any more, and our waterways could use a pick-me-up. This is the slogans for this year's Coastal Cleanup Day, which is coming up on September 20th. The cleanups will be throughout Pacifica, including every beach, and probably 15 to 25 places. A list, you may find a list on our website at pacificabeachcoalition.org. A lot of these sites have been covered in the past. So San Pedro Creek at the shopping center, and also at the convalescent home, Safeway here in Manor, Esplanade Beach, Muscle Rock, Hickey Boulevard, Sunset Ridge School. I hope Valimar, I haven't gotten confirmation yet, but a list will be coming out in the paper. So I invite everybody to join us for the cleanup between 9 and 11. And if they'd like to come share their stories, talk to other people, we invite them to come to Surf Spot afterwards to help Pacifica's economy and enjoy good friends there. That brings me to the trash bucket cleanup, trash bucket pickup. I want to thank Karen Irvin already for doing it. I want to thank Cindy Abbott for completing it, Len Stone for accepting the challenge, Marianne for accepting the challenge. Mike and Sue, you have been challenged as well. And there's 3 simple rules. Pick up 1 bucket of trash, wherever you want to, post it on Facebook, and challenge 3 other people, and have fun while you save fish, birds, and wildlife. And it's not necessary to wait for a challenge to come to you. If you'd like to, you can accept the challenge, and you can go pick up the bucket, post it on our Facebook, and challenge other people. We've got people around the country. Our oldest volunteer at 94 had a little help, but he also picked up a bucket of garbage and posted it on Facebook, and challenges all of us to pick up a bucket. So I hope you have fun with this. I hope we do it. Also, it would be wonderful. You can also donate to the Pacifica Beach Coalition. And if you don't want to pick up garbage, that's fine. Go ahead and make a nice donation. Thank you.
Thanks, Len. And last but not least, Julie Lancel. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, members of the council member, and I know how hard your job is, and I commend all of you for doing such a great job. Tonight I just felt like I needed to come and talk a little bit about something I discovered when I was on the city council with regard to sales tax revenues. And because I think that's a really important area that we really don't talk about in Pacifica. For those who don't realize it or haven't looked into city finances to the extent that some of us who do this job or have done this job do, revenues for city services primarily come from property taxes, and a percentage of state property taxes come back to the city, as well as a percentage of sales taxes. And I did a little research today just to give all of us an idea of what our neighboring cities get in terms of sales tax annually. And bearing in mind and keeping in mind that each one of these cities is on a freeway, is on the main freeways near us. And we, on the other hand, are kind of at the end, the last city before you head down the wild coast and 50 miles of beautiful coastline. But we're at a disadvantage, where some people I've heard in the past call it a cul-de-sac, that we're kind of in a cul-de-sac here. But I think it's really of interest, and I think people need to take this in account when they criticize and try and find fault with the council, for example, or others, for why we don't have more money. I took these numbers from 2012 in each of these cities. Pacifica in 2012 was 1.4 million, a little under 1.4 million in sales tax revenue. South San Francisco was 11.7 million, and that's for a city that's twice our size, and they make 11 times, 10 times more than we do in sales tax. Daly City, 10.6 million. They're a city, they're probably 3 times as large as we are, but still quite a bit more than our 1.4 million. Colma, 8.9 million, with a total population of 1,500 people compared to our 37,000. So, and this is something that's not going to be changed. People, big boxes have come, the councils that I was served on, the chambers of commerce of the past and present have tried to recruit these big boxes to come to Pacifica, and they're not interested. So it's not the city's fault. It's just our location, and we never have had enough revenue to provide the services for the number of people in this community. And I just beg and encourage everyone to look into this themselves, and they'll see what I'm talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. Okay. I have no other cards for oral communications. All right, so bringing it back to council, and our next issue is items for consideration, and we moved item number 8 into the first item under consideration, so we'll do that one first. Staff report, please. And I think we're coming up for that.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I am Lori Tinfo, the City Manager, and I've also asked the Public Works Director, Van Ocampo, to assist with making this report. There's, as Council is aware, the topic before you is asking you to approve the execution of the attached agreement that would be between the City of Pacifica and Dave Colt for the purchase of a piece of property needed to finish or complete the Pedro Point Headlands Trail. As Council is aware, this has been something that has been in the works for some time, I believe more than 10 years. And so there's a lot of history that has brought us to where we are. It actually involved 2 properties, one owned by the Tronoff family and the other one owned by Dave Colt. And the city has been making efforts, as I said, to purchase both of those. In 2011, we were successful with purchasing the Tronoff property, and we had also made some progress with Dave Colt in terms of an agreement to purchase his property. However, then that, he withdrew his agreement to sell it to us, and at that time, then the city's efforts sort of went on hold. My understanding is that last year, we resumed our efforts to meet with Dave and to come to an agreement. And at that time, the council designated 2 council members to be a subcommittee to work with Dave to hopefully come to an agreement. And I joined that effort when I came on board last October. The vision for completing the trail, you all know it better than I do in terms of what the expectations are for Pacifica's ability to attract visitors and to really make the most out of all the other efforts that have gone into developing the trail system at Pedro Point and all along our coastline. The piece of land that we're talking about tonight would actually be the last puzzle piece in, again, creating that trail that would traverse our entire length of our coastline from north to south. As part of the negotiations process, the full council gave the representatives authority to negotiate with Dave Colt. And through a series of meetings, you have before you an agreement, note that it's also been signed by Dave, that falls within the authority that you all granted the subcommittee. And I'll just highlight that. So the agreement includes 2 periods of time for an option to purchase. The first one is 9 months. That would give us an opportunity to put together a funding plan. And then for that option, we would pay Dave Colt $15,000. We've also included an additional option period in case we need more time, another 6 months, for an additional $5,000. So the option in total would be at most $20,000. And that money would go toward the purchase price, assuming that we can put together a funding plan. The purchase price that we've negotiated is $583,000 for the property. We have agreed to share the cost of escrow, and I think those are the key provisions that I highlighted in the report and that we got direction from you all. The agreement, of course, has a lot of other provisions, standard provisions that we would want in an agreement such as this. The action that you're being asked to do tonight is to approve that so then I can then take this and execute it on your behalf. Now, I touched on the funding plan. As the report highlights, we don't have money collected to actually buy this property today. And that's really why we need that option period, is in hopes of then being able to collect funding together to make good on this offer. And I've highlighted some different sources in here. The one that I'll touch on most, and that's the money that's due from the Transportation Authority. As part of this effort that I referenced with the Tronoff family and with Dave Colt, we had a number of partners, and the Transportation Authority was one of them. We've met the requirements to receive $360,000 toward those costs at the culmination of the purchase of both properties. So assuming we can make this happen, then we are eligible to take advantage of that grant and will receive that $360,000, and that of course could go toward the purchase of this property. And in fact, half of that would be required to go toward the purchase of this property. The reason why the other half, there's a little more flexibility, is because we've already upfronted that money. It would in essence be a reimbursement for the Tronoff agreement. There's some other sources identified in there, including the excess ERAF in 2015, assuming we get some from the county. Again, that buys us this would give us the option for that 9 month and then perhaps an additional 6 month of time to make the funding plan come together. I've touched on the fiscal impacts of the option money. We would cover that through the general fund and then reimburse it once we have a plan for the purchase price. And I think with that, I'll stop and see if you have any questions that I can answer, or perhaps if Van can answer for you.
Okay, council members. Questions? Councilmember O'Neill.
One of the concerns that's been expressed is improvements to the trail to get to, the Double Slide Park. And what we're voting on tonight does not obligate the city to do any of those improvements, correct?
Are you talking about building the trail?
Yes.
If we purchase the property and got the money from the Transportation Authority. There is a provision in that agreement that would require us to construct the trail by, I believe it's 2021.
Okay, and
That's
then,
the only requirement at this time.
and then, but do we have identified any sources for funding the building of the trail?
I'm going to defer to Van. Maybe he's aware of some. As far as I know, the short answer is no, but there might be some ideas that he's aware of.
There are several funding sources that are available to us. Not that we have applied for any of them yet, but because of the amount that we need to construct this trail at almost $5 million, it may be a combination of various grants.
Yeah.
Both federal, state, and even the local grant. Even the Transportation Authority is still another funding source for future.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Degree.
Actually, Councilman O'Neill asked the question there. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Stone?
Thank you, Mayor Nyhart. I just wanted to ask City Manager Tinfo, we're talking about this option period, and if we approve this, or hopefully when we approve it, then the staff would create a funding plan. How confident are you that we'll be able to have a viable plan to pay for this?
Well, we certainly have the money from the Transportation Authority, and if you all would like to direct that towards this, that's a sizable chunk of the total that we're going to need. There may be other partners, none that I can talk about or that I know about at this point, but there might be some other partners available who would want to make this happen. And as I mentioned, the excess ERAF could be a source of funds for the balance. Perhaps, and I didn't put this in the report, but one of the things that's occurring to me is, if you're familiar with crowdfunding or crowdsourcing, maybe this is a project that we would want to put out and use an online mechanism to let people contribute toward making this happen. That would be something, if you're interested, I could explore. But at this point, that's as much of a funding plan as I can put forward.
So am I right in my math here, so we have $583,000 as a price, and then any option goes towards the price of that, so it's not just an option, okay? So then, with $360,000 available, that's already, there are conditions, but it's already been approved by the Transportation Authority, that would leave just $223,000 to come with. Okay. So you had mentioned excess ERAF, and last year that was, what was it, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8?
1.6 million we received last year.
1.6, and I think from the projections we're anticipating possibly another 100,000 or 200,000 in that. I think I've heard one as high as 1.8 is a projection. It's possible. Okay, so if all else fails, that's clearly within that scope. I know that the city council has only attributed, maybe under $90,000 of that money so far in last year's budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so only out of the, at worst, probably 1.6 million, only 90,000 is spoken for as of now. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Okay, so there's a good potential there. I guess I'm getting at is, I want there to be a good potential for that to be there if we're going to enter into an agreement like this, and it sounds like it is there. So that, am I right in my conclusion?
If the council so directed, yes, that could be a funding plan.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Most of my questions have been asked already, but I did want to ask about your concern if you can comment on potential liability issues. For instance, right now we have many people parking on Highway 1 and walking to the head of the trail site, and if there's concern of the city about pedestrian safety and car safety.
Well, I've certainly heard those stories. Van, I'm going to defer to you. Perhaps you know more about specifics than I do.
Currently, there is no trail within this area of Mr. Colt. So what we have to do is where the trail ends, we have to ask people to turn around at that point because there's no improvement yet, particularly for this section here. In terms of allowing parking along the highway, that's within the jurisdiction of CHP, and we had alerted them to that already. Our very own Captain Steidel actually reached out to CHP about that and Caltrans about people parking at the entrance, the gate entrance on the northern end of the tunnel.
But let me offer a comment sort of the flip side of that.
Right.
Because what you're sort of asking, are there safety issues associated with our looking at this piece of land to complete the trail system? And I would say definitely yes. Currently, there is this gap. And if you're trying to hike the entire length of the trail, you get to a point and the trail ends, and then it begins again elsewhere, and there is that gap. So yes, I believe that's been part of the vision to make this happen also for safety reasons.
Thank you. That's
I have an additional question that I'm going to insert here that it may not make sense until we do the discussion part, but it is a question. To the city manager, who would you like me to talk to about or work with about the PCA, the Priority Conservation Area designation, for both the Colt property as well as the headlands? Because as I was telling the council previously, that makes us much more available to about 15 other grant sources, besides some of the ones that we also are bringing forward, like the Habitat Conservation Fund grant and the Land and Water Conservation Fund grants. So some of these other sources can be very useful in the future, but with George White leaving, who would you like me to work with that on?
I'm probably going to have to get back to you.
Okay.
I'm still working out with planning staff what the transition's going to look like, but it is on my mind, and I will get back to you with an answer.
Because we've got to move fairly soon
Understood.
on moving that forward, at least getting the city resolution as a conservation area under. So moving this into the PCA category is important. Councilmember O'Neill.
Just a question in terms of the design of any improvements. Is that the city of Pacifica, or would this even be in our boundaries, or would Van be doing that? I was just curious who would be the engineer for that.
The city would be doing that work. Again, the Transportation Authority agreement stipulates that the city is the lead agency. We would be leading that effort to build the trail. It would probably be Van or somebody in Van's department. Van, do you want to add anything to that? Please.
Okay. The city also hired an outside firm that had already done the preliminary design of this, including that area where we're purchasing the trail being ADA accessible.
Thank you. Well, because somebody forwarded me a history about about there were some mudslides, et cetera, and Caltrans had to clean that up. So I was concerned about who would be taking care of, who would be taking care of that now.
As part of the design team, there's also a geotechnical engineer on board. In fact, there are preliminary geotechnical assessment done on the property already.
And actually, as a follow-up to that question, wouldn't the trail and the process of making that trail make it more stable?
In fact, that's correct, because part of the construction of the trail will involve retaining walls that will hold the dirt rather than just sloughing up or sliding into section.
Councilmember Degree.
Did you ask about liability now for the mudslide? Was that your question?
Pardon?
Did you ask about liability now for the mudslide?
No, not really. You can.
Yeah, that distracted me. I don't know. The history going back when the city offered to pay for this the first time, what year was that?
2011.
That was 2000 for the city to offer for this property?
Yes.
I thought it was actually earlier. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I have several cards, and then we will deliberate on this. The first person who wants to speak on item number 8 is John Keener, followed by Chris Hunter and Lynn Adams. And Chris, I assume you're representing Supervisor Horsley. Okay. John?
Hello, John Keener from Lindemar.
While I favor completion of this trail, I believe this purchase agreement should be part of the regular agenda. The funding possibilities should be clearly laid out, and that's
Can't
given
hear,
our...
I'm sorry. Could you speak louder? I can't hear.
Okay. The funding possibilities should be clearly laid out, given our city's financial difficulties, and public comment should be invited. For example, ERAF funds in 2014 have been used to fund the Pacifica Resource Center. If they're used in 2015 to help pay for this land, will the Resource Center still be funded? I'll simply close my brief comments here by quoting someone else, and that is, I am in favor of completing the trail. I am not in favor of cutting the public out of the process. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Horsley by way of Chris Hunter.
Thank you.
Followed by Lynn Adams and Julie Lancel. I was still trying to figure out how we were cutting the public out of the process. But anyway,
well,
never mind. Go on.
It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm Chris Hunter. I live in Pacifica. I'm Chief of Staff for Don Horsley, Supervisor 3rd District. I just wanted to say that there are actually two parts of the puzzle to the $2 million Devil Slide Trail County Park. One is connecting Pacifica to that wonderful facility, and one is connecting Montera through the other side on the Green Valley Trail. Both of these are very important projects to allow people to hike to and through the Devil Slide Trail, which the only criticism we've gotten, even from the civil grand jury, is you know, we can't park, it's too crowded, there's problems, and that kind of. I just want to say that this should be a priority of Pacifica to make sure that this trail is connected through this lovely community and the people who want to hike up there to reach that without having to drive to these limited parking lots. And I'll tell you, on a bright sunny day, it's hard to find parking at Devil Slide Trail. But it's also hard to find parking at Sam's Chowder House. Things that people want to be at create parking problems. So if you can hike there from Pacifica on a lovely trail that's behind the mountain, you will not only be able to reach the Devil Slide Trail, you'll be able to reach the Pedro Headlands, which is a world-class park in and of itself. So there is a tremendous amount of valuable hiking, recreational, spiritual value to the top of this hill here coming out of Pacifica. I just wanted to say this afternoon, I confirmed once again with my boss, Don Horsley, and Joe Hurley, who works for the TA, that the agreement that was signed and completed in 2011 to give Pacifica $360,000 in its effort to buy. The price was a moving price. People can remember that it was a moving price. I want to say I'm so proud of the council and the committee that worked so hard on arriving at a reasonable price to move forward. I think that it should be you should make a visionary decision to commit to paying for this. We, the county, the TA, will pay $360,000. There are many other possibilities, but certainly the city of Pacifica could do this. You do not want to throw away money on you know, what are they called when you give somebody, you know, let us do it, the money you were talking about that would go towards the payment. It's a great idea. You have tremendous support from the county to do this, and I can't guarantee, but the County Parks Department is going to be helping a lot to make sure that people reach this wonderful park safely. So congratulations on all the work you've done, and Supervisor Horsley hopes that you move forward with this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lynn Adams, followed by Julie Lancel.
I don't know that I could say anything better than what was just said. This is a world-class park, Pedro Point Headlands. I've been so fortunate to be the stewardship coordinator there, to engage citizens of Pacifica and around the county, to go there every month to help pull weeds, restore trails, restore denuded areas. It is a world-class place. The one thing that has been a real challenge is parking at the Green Gate, which is the only access. And now we have parking at Pedro Point, at the Devil Slide Trail, but that is often full. So people are risking their life by parking at the Green Gate and then trying to cross traffic to come back to Pacifica. So that is a real liability, and this trail will really open up the headlands. It also, Caltrans has informed, in communication with many of the Caltrans people, I've learned that this stretch of Highway 1 is the most dangerous bike spot of any place from Canada down to Mexico. It is the #1 worst place. So it's very dangerous. So this bike trail will open it up to allow bikers to hike or bike through Devil's Slide as well. The Pedro Point Headlands is a very special place. It is a spiritual place. Our work days, we end up in La La Land after we finish because it's so special. And whatever the city can do to grab this opportunity, we've been very close in the past, we have not made it. Let's do this. I know that there's funding. I know that there are a lot of people invested in this, including people from the state, you know, that think that this is really a cog. And State Coastal Commission, you know, I think you're going to find that there's a lot of funding. This needs, in my opinion, to happen. And I can't applaud you enough for taking this on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Julie Lancel, followed by Chris Fogel and Therese Dyer. And that'll be my last card, unless somebody else has one.
Thank you very much. You know, I know that reference has been made to 2011 when you started the most current work on this project, but just for everyone's information, it was envisioned over a decade ago as a really significant and important trail, because so many people for so many years have been working on the trails that you see going through Pacifica. All of those were the result of the City of Pacifica partnering with other agencies outside of Pacifica, because we don't have very much money on our own, to create these extraordinary trails that everyone takes for granted and walks on every day. And they're just wonderful, going through Maury, going through the quarry, Maury Point, going up the Rockaway Headland, coming down to the beach. And what this trail is the continuation of that, and people will be able to go from Lindemar and from the beach there, and then go up and over and connect to the other trails. And I must bear in mind that people will also be coming down the trail to Pacifica. This will be an access for people who are hiking, who may be hiking the trails in Montera, to come over and come to Pacifica and visit our businesses and bring business to Pacifica. So I just really commend you and support this so much. I think it would be just a tragedy after all this work for so long to just throw away this opportunity that's so significant and not have this very important link. I will also add that I was coming out of San Pedro Road to the traffic light, the temporary traffic light there that's now because of the bridge construction. And there was this sweet little group of, they looked like Japanese tourists or something, on their little bikes. They weren't like the racing bikes, you know, they were like the ones with handlebars and everything, and they were all cute, you know, in their little outfits. And they were heading up that road, which has a shoulder of this width, you know, and I was just terrified that I would read about them dying, you know, in the newspaper. So it's so dangerous, and I just commend, I really wish I could speak as well as Chris Hunter did on behalf of this and some of the other speakers. It's tremendously important, and I don't have any way of knowing, but I think that but you do, that it's very likely there'll be so much support for this. It's a very important asset. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Chris Fogel and then Therese Dyer.
Hi, good evening. I'm Chris Fogel from Lindemar. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I want to preface my comments by saying, first and foremost, I am not against the trail. I think trails are very important in Pacifica. I think our outdoor environment is one of our prime attractions here. However, I do disagree with Mr. Hunter's characterization that the trail should be our priority. I think priority ought to be fiscal responsibility at this point, given the budget that was laid out on June 23rd of this year. One of the things that concerns me about what I heard tonight, if I understand this correctly, is that if we purchase this property, the trail must be constructed by 2021. So in essence, what we're doing tonight, if we go forward with this, is we're kind of putting ourselves on the hook, or we're agreeing to constructing a trail in 7 years for a total cost of somewhere around $5,583,000. And we only have a guaranteed source of funding right now of approximately $180,000 towards that. I mean, that's a little troubling to me to hear that. Also, because if we're taking, this is the first step in several steps, we're committing ourselves to building this trail if we go ahead and purchase this property. We have nothing here for us to see about the nature of the trail, what it looks like, what kind of impact it will have. I don't know if there's been an environmental impact report done on it. We're kind of committing ourselves to a project here that we don't really know what it looks like. So those are my concerns. I'm hoping you can discuss them later. Thank you very much.
Okay. And the final comments from Tree Steyer.
Yeah, I have similar concerns as Chris Vogel has, because I remember that we bought a portion of that for $300,000, and I don't think the negotiations were right at the time without Dave Colt's permission. So they ran into a problem when he wouldn't sell his part of the property, so this could go forward. So he held out so he can get a bigger price for his slice of land. And I'm sure that probably it is a good idea, but when we're $4 million deficit, and it took us 30 years to do a general plan, and that's not completed, and another 20 years for the highway widening, and that's not completed, we need to focus on revenue and development at the least. So I think the public needs more information. It should be published, what the city manager just said, in the Pacifica Tribune, and lay it out to them. Okay? Thank you.
Okay. Having no other cards and no other comments coming forward, I'll bring it back to council. What's the pleasure of the council? Councilmember DeGree.
Right. Going to the history, like was mentioned, it goes back almost to 2002, but at least somewhere in that area. And the timing wasn't right for the property owner, it was right for us. So in my opinion, right now, it is not the time for us. I've been a proponent of our environment is our economy forever, and obviously that means the natural environment, so I should be thrilled about this. I am thrilled with the visioning. I really am, and I hope it all comes true. However, having gone through extremely grueling budget cuts, just grueling, it was like yesterday, that I really cannot step forward and do this particular process. I would much rather that the process be that we hold off a little bit and do a little bit more research on the mixture of possibilities of money to see that there's really a little bit more assurance there. This is an extremely important trail in the county so I could definitely see the county coming forth, maybe even national parks, private funding. I'm all for the GoFundMe thing, but based on our budget and the extreme cuts and the extreme low amount of staff we have, and therefore the extreme amount of time and jobs that one person has to take on, I just really can't go forward on this. There isn't a guarantee, and this has been a criticism before, of natural things being our economy, is how do you get visitors to take the cash out of their pocket to spend it in this town? They can get here and take that bike ride, hike, whatever, and go to Half Moon Bay or San Francisco or somewhere else to pay. What's the missing link to get actual cash out of the visitor? We really need to work on that, and I don't think this is doing it. We also have a shuttle, and that's going to take money, and that's going to go away if the ridership isn't there, and that's going to be upon us as a city too, most likely, to come up with some funding there. Shuttles don't just keep going on and on. So the biggest issue for me is the grueling situation of we're just coming out of a recession. There are no guarantees. We had to cut really bad. I love the vision, but I just can't vote for this at this time.
Councilmember Stone.
Thank you, Mayor Nyhart. I just wanted to say how thrilled I am actually today that today is finally here, and we have the opportunity to be able to enter into this option to purchase. It's, of course, not the actual agreement to, or it's not the final funding, but it's the option to buy it so we can come up with the money. Like a couple of people mentioned, this trail system has been fantastic for the way of life in Pacifica. The outdoor activity level of everyone that lives here. I think most people enjoy our beaches, enjoy the trails, enjoy being able to ride your bike or run from Manor to Lindemar or go whichever way. I live in Fairway Park, and we can go either way, all the way up to Pedro Point, and that's where it stops. And I'm glad Chris Hunter's here. Thank you so much for coming, and please say thank you to Don Horsley as well, because the effort that the county has made for that world-class park that is Devil's Slide Park is huge. Not just $2 million, but all the years of staff time and the foresight to see that that vista was going to be able to be an economic generator, that it was going to be able to be a world-class vista. I was in Ireland last summer, and there was this amazing view. They said, you have to go to this place. I can't remember the name of it now, but it was the Cliffs of something Gaelic. But it was on the west coast of Ireland by the Cliffs of Moher. And I went to it, and it wasn't even close to what we have here at Devil's Slide. It wasn't even close. And it's world famous. And so to answer Councilmember DeGree's question, I think this is a huge economic generator possibility. It has the ability for hotels and for other people to be able to market this. I know that the Chamber of Commerce is extremely excited about this opportunity, which is a very fiscally conservative organization. And I think it's a huge opportunity for us to be able to take what's been started in the early 2000s, had a lot of ups and downs and successes and failures and stumbles along the way, but now we're here and we have the ability to make it happen. And that's a really exciting time, because in Pacifica we're always talking about, oh, what could happen? What's in the hopper? Oh no, the sky is falling, all these things. But this is an opportunity to do something great. And based on my math, it only is going to cost us $223,000. I think that's a massive benefit to the community, to our economy in the future, and to the people that live here. And I'm just really, really excited. So I'd be happy to make a motion when the time comes, if hopefully we get there. And that's all I have to say for the moment.
Councilmember O'Neill.
First, I'd like to ask the city attorney. One of the comments made is that we were cutting the public out. Is this a public hearing right now?
This is a publicly noticed, not a legal public hearing, but it is a publicly noticed meeting.
Well, because it doesn't have to be a public hearing.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it is
It's
public.
public.
It's being
Yes.
televised and all that
Yes.
stuff. Okay. I wanted to clarify that. I agree with a lot of what Councilman Stone said. I believe that this is an opportunity, and just to, sometimes in the worst of times, you have to have a vision to move forward. I know, President Lincoln during the Civil War was the person that initiated the Transcontinental Railroad, as well as the purchase of Yosemite. And I think there could have been a lot of people that said, why are you worrying about a bunch of trees in some valley when we're having the Civil War? So I think that, and he financed the railroad by bonds. So I think it's a great opportunity for the city. It's a great opportunity for the county and, possibly the state. It's something that when I went down to League of Cities, the California Film Commission, this is a site that they would probably very much like to see. And I know in Half Moon Bay, there was a movie filmed there that in 2 weeks they spent $800,000 in the local economy. So I think this is something that we can definitely, this could be the show Pacifica off gem.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I think a lot of my sentiment has already been discussed here, but I would just like to kind of go through some things again, just one more time. One of my biggest concerns, and I'm so excited actually about the trail and the fact that it is just such a beautiful trail to provide to tourists and people coming to Pacifica, and it's just such a destination point, and I think it is very important to finish this trail. But my primary concern truly is the liability issue. It would take one person getting hurt on Highway 1. To me, I don't feel like we can afford not to do this trail. Seriously, we've already opened the trail up at the Devil's Slide Trail. So now we're leaving people at, the mercy of the passing cars that they don't get hurt. I think it would be very irresponsible to turn away from the completing this trail at this at this time. So to me, that is the ultimate, most important thing going forward. I also think it does provide a tremendous economic benefit to our city. People are coming from all over the Bay Area. They're coming through California. They're going down Highway 1. It is a beautiful destination point, and I think people will come into our town. They will visit our restaurants. They will stay in our hotels to go to the Devil's Slide Trail. So I also think this is just another economic generator. And that's very important to me as well. A couple points that were brought up I would just like to comment on. One person was concerned that the money for the resource center would be taken away because of us committing to this. But in all reality, we have approximately $1.5 dollars anticipated to come in through ERAF. It may be a little more, it may be a little less, but the resource center is approximately, I think, around $84,000. 83? 83,000, and then I know the Pacifica Beach Coalition is also part of that, and that's approximately $3,000. So we still have quite a surplus that we are dealing with, and we definitely have the $220,000 that we are looking at to potentially fund if we need to use it from the ERAF monies. And the one other issue, and I would really like to comment on this because I'm speaking on behalf of the entire council, and I truly hope they don't mind, but one speaker said that he really would like to demand a public process here. And every one of us, prior to the meeting, had gone to the city manager and said, please pull this from the consent agenda. It's very important to us that this topic is discussed, that people understand. This project has been going on for 10 years plus, and it has a long history. It's very important, and I think it is vital that the steps are clear to the people in the audience, and that's why we all felt it was very important to pull this item from the agenda so we can talk about it, we can talk about the staff report, and also I just want to add that in the staff report there is a diagram of the path, and I think, so the design of the path is in there. I don't know how intricate that people would like us to get with that, but it is included in the staff report, and we are trying to be as transparent as we possibly can with this process. And one other last thing I'd like to add is we've gone through 10 plus years working on this project, and a lot of money has already gone into this process, and it would truly, it would truly be a travesty to walk away from it now. It's just been a lot of staff time, a lot of resources, a lot of, everybody's time. And I think this is something that has definitely been asked for by the community, and that's why I support this project going forward.
Okay, well, that brings it back to me. And I'm going to take just a slightly different tack because many things have been said already, and they probably don't need to be said. But I want to put it in a larger context because we're probably, while I don't disagree with Councilmember Degree's sentiments at all about our budget and our financial situation, my largest concern for the city right at this second is staff. That we don't have the staff necessarily to do all the pieces that we need to do for this project. And to make this happen, we're in position right now as a council involved in a variety of committees and positions to have a significant sense of what's available and what we can do. I sit as chair of the City and County Association of Governments. We have, I'm also a member of ABAG. We have other committees, the Bikes and Trails. Len is currently the chair of the Pedestrian and Bike Path Subcommittee. I mean, there's just so much that we can have a sense of what's going on and feed the information to staff and have that working relationship. It's a critical time to move forward on these things. In that vein, being on those committees is one of the essential jobs, and why it's so difficult to bring this to you in, and I guess I'm looking at some of the speakers right now, because to bring it to you in totality would be sort of an impossibility at this point. And the reason it's impossible is because it may vary slightly based on the grant money that's available to us. There is a lot of money out there. I was stunned at the money that is out there once we become a priority conservation area. But we have to have that designation. And frankly, if you're not at the table, you guys remember about a month ago, I talked to you about ABAG's last meeting, the Association of Bay Area Governments' last meeting, in which the executive board was about to turn around on whether, we were adding green spaces in cities to priority conservation money. And they did, but they agreed to prioritize cities that don't have PDAs, priority development agencies. And it's only because a number of us got together and lobbied. And I have to tell you, I feel very strongly about the county, and not just Don Horsley, but Dave Pine came to my rescue and argued very stringently for that, along with Sean Haggerty and some of the other supervisors and council members that were there on ABAG to support exactly what we're talking about here. So I feel like we have a lot of chances to make this happen, and what we're risking right now is $15,000 against getting the rest of the money for a project that could have so much benefit. It's unbelievable. And even if all fails, which I don't believe it will, I believe we're going to get the additional monies because we have other grant sources to write for right now. In the 9 months, we can get some additional monies, but even if we don't, risking this against what I know we can acquire, which is the $5 million, that's the only way we're going to do something that's stunning here. Because thank you to former council member Lancel for bringing forward the information and reminding us about our sales tax base. It doesn't exist in that regard. We don't go down, we don't go up. I mean, I often say our biggest fluctuation is the price of gas. That's where we get our biggest fluctuation. So people, we need to have some visionary thinking here. We're in position to get those grants. We've got to go after those grants. And that means we as a council have to be a much more involved working council on this project to make this happen. So I want to invite you here to do just that. We've got to dog every tail here completely. I mean, we've got to follow it, we've got to be after it, we've got to get that money. Because if we're going to take this risk, that's what it's going to take. And that means putting ourselves in the positions to do just that. That's what council do. And with that in mind, I am absolutely in favor of moving forward on this. So, Councilmember Stone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just wanted to say thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Irvin. About a year and a half ago, when negotiations broke down with the old city manager, or City Manager Rhodes at the time, we asked, it was kind of unconventional, but we asked that we start negotiations because we thought we could reach a deal. And I just want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you over the last year plus on this. And it was a little unconventional, and I thank the council also for that, because it was an opportunity to be able to start negotiations even though we were in transition with the city manager, and move that along, and that took over a year. So thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure working on this, and I'm very excited. Thank you to all the council members that have worked on this, and hopefully we'll get this trail completed. This over the last 15 years, and I know that when I started council in 2010, and Jim Vreeland, it was his last, I guess that was the last year, 2010, 2011, he was very much, this was his baby, and then when he resigned, there was nobody really there to take it and run with it. So we're happy to have that opportunity, and thank you for that, and I'm glad that we're one step further, and hopefully he knows about this and is watching, and hopefully he'll see that. Question?
Councilmember Stone, I just want to interrupt you for just a second. I wanted to say thank you to both of you, and you deserve a lot of credit for this too, for really staying with it and pursuing the negotiations, and I really want to appreciate you bringing it home. But I want to add that acknowledgement to all the other council members that have worked on this diligently, and Julie Lancel, you've been a huge part of it as well. So everybody that's been involved, just thank you.
And so it's my pleasure to move to direct the city manager to execute the attached option and purchase and sale agreement for the city purchase of land owned by Dave Colt and known as San Mateo County Assessor's Parcel Number 023-073-080.
And Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll second that.
And Councilmember Degree, you had something you wanted to say?
Well, actually, I thought we were still discussing, none of this conversation has really answered the question about timing. So, for example, with the priority destination, I do realize that's a very important thing, and that's possible. So why is it that we have to take this step at this minute rather than taking the priority destination and do it in that? What's the big rush that we can't put this off to get a little bit more information? I haven't heard that answered yet.
It's a good question.
Can I answer that question?
Sure.
Okay. So if you don't mind, and I'll answer that question. One of the reasons why this has been difficult is because you have a private landowner. And I know that it's always been my feeling, and Councilmember Irvin's feeling, and please add on to this, that what a lot of cities do in these cases is they'll do like eminent domain or something other than that. And to us, that was really a last resort, and we didn't want to do that. So when you have another party in the mix, it has to be a win-win deal. It has to bring two people to the table, and it's been so difficult to get that to happen over the last year. I think it would be a mistake to push that off and to assume that it's going to be there at a later time. So I think it's imperative that we sign the deal, or the option, the option, remember the option, now, because it does give us that latitude. So I hope that answers your question.
No, it actually doesn't. I mean, the priority destination is a new thing, which we appear to be at the top of the list for possibilities. And there's that other composition of sources. I don't see how a short time, I mean, we had Mr. Hunter here, but we didn't have anybody in closed session discussing property rights in that matter. I just still don't see that the answer to timing, I mean, when it was the property owner's decision that timing wasn't okay, that's the way it went. So we're having a budget. We went through terrible budget times, so I don't, if you don't want to discuss it because there's no changing of the mind I'm talking about timing. I'm not saying like 20 years from now or even 1 year from now. It just seems like there's not enough guaranteed information. So I walk away with, well, okay, somehow this is going to get all built really fast. We're going to have the hotels, and everybody's going to go to the hotels and pay TOT, and that's how Pacifica's getting money. So the timing hasn't been answered for me, and that's whatever you want to do.
I just want to say one thing. Priority conservation area is one designation that will help open up other sources for grant monies. That's all. It doesn't do anything other than that. But I will tell you, until we have control over the land, none of those grants come into our hands. So from that standpoint, none of those questions are going to get answered until we have at least an option. We can't even put forward a grant on something, an application on something, when we don't have an option on the land to begin with. So that pretty much does it for me. I have two other lights up here. Councilmember O'Neill?
Actually, I was just going to say the same thing you did. Without site control, we cannot.
Yeah, we can't even
cannot apply for anything up there. So the option for $15,000 does give us site control.
Yeah.
That we can then move forward for purchase or building the.
I mean, we have one right now with an October 1st deadline for the grant, but one of the requirements in it is that we have the control over the land. So we can't even do the next step till we have control over the land. Councilmember Irwin, or Mayor Pro Tem, you've been waiting for a while.
Oh, that's all right. I just wanted to also say that I really appreciated Councilmember Stone's direction on this project, because he was involved prior to when I started becoming involved, and he gave great direction. And one of the things that we really focused on during these negotiations is being fair, just working together, making sure everybody felt good about the process. And it was very, very important. And it wasn't necessarily easy. And I don't think we're going to get this opportunity again to get this land. So there is a sense of urgency with procuring this piece of land now. And I think it is very important moving forward. And I don't think it's an appropriate time to be risking turning away from purchasing this land now.
Councilmember Degree.
Well, you know, in the interest of working, meeting, and doing conversation, I have plenty more I could say about that. One of the things I would like to say is that the statement you just made about one of the grants, I would have liked to have known ahead of time, what is the grant, how much money is it, and knowing about the deadline. When I'm saying timing it, I'm getting the impression that folks think one of two things. A, the property owner is going to run out tomorrow and sell it so that we can't have it, or that timing is like 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 2 years now. How about 4 weeks? But I kind of gather where you're going, so whatever. I will try to shut my mouth.
Fine. Okay, Councilmember Stone,
I just wanted to ask if we could vote on the motion.
is there anything else from council?
I think we need a second.
No, we had it
do?
seconded. We have a motion on the table. Okay, then please vote. And that passes 4-1. And with that, we're going to move on to item number 9, which is emergency preparedness, who has sat here very patiently waiting on us. But that was a good discussion. Come on up and join us, everybody. No.
Well, I'll go ahead and begin while we're waiting for the projector to heat up.
That's perfect.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, and staff. I'm Captain Joe Spanheimer with the Pacifica Police Department in a different kind of uniforms this evening. It is my privilege to be one of the city staff members that works with the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission. Another city staff member who's with the police department is Sergeant Robert Launderville, who could not be here this evening. Tonight, the Commission will be presenting its annual report. This report will cover the calendar year of 2013, and it will also cover the year 2014 until now. I would like to now introduce the members of the Emergency Preparedness and Safety Commission. Seated to my right at the table is the chair, Patrick Checky, and also Rhonda Shaw, one of the commission members. In the audience, we have Evelyn Taverna, we have Frank Urbacher, and Jean Salisbury. The vice chair, who is Gregor Blackburn, could not make it as he's traveling on business, and Deborah Johnson has also a previous engagement. She could not make it. Also, as part of the council, we have 5 ex officio members, and these members represent the city council, members of other government organizations, and emergency organizations. These 5 people are Karen Irvin, who is on the city council and is also mayor pro tem, Stephen Mahaley, who is with the San Mateo County Office of Emergency Services. We have John Schultz, who works for the Jefferson Union High School District, Ray Avila, who is a member of the Pacifica School District, and last we have Michael Yee, who is a member of the American Red Cross. And now I'd like to turn it over to Pat Checky for his report.
You want to pull the mic down to you, and sometimes that one doesn't work.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight to...
You got to speak right into it, or the TV and everybody won't hear you. Is it?
Oh, is this...
There you go. You got to speak right into the mic. There you go.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks for the opportunity tonight to provide an update on our annual activities from the Emergency Preparedness Commission.
Yeah, believe it or not, you have to talk right to the mic.
Got it. The expertise of the commission members comes from various disciplines. We represent medical field, civil engineering, ham radio, FEMA, and facilities management. We also have representation from local agencies, which Captain mentioned, the school district, Red Cross, and the Office of Emergency Services. I started with the commission as an ex officio member in 1995. The commission's primary role is to advise the city council on emergency preparedness activities and programs, and to conduct community outreach to disseminate information to the public. Secondarily, we act as an appellate board for the parking and traffic issues.
We lose you as soon as you move away from it, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
During the last year, the city's participated in 4 disaster drills, 3 table exercises covering earthquake, tsunami, and cyber terrorism, and a semi-functional countywide multi-agency drill referred to as Silver Dragon. As available, commission members also participate in these activities. In addition to disaster exercises, the commission conducts a number of outreach events, such as the Fog Fest booth. 2 weeks ago, I visited one of the local Boy Scout troops to distribute our 72-hour pamphlet and talk about the importance of a family communication plan. Thank you. Now I'd like to provide some additional details on other programs. I'm excited about the CERT program. We would like to introduce fellow commission member Rhonda Shaw to say a few words about the city's CERT program, which she's actively involved in.
Thank you. The Community Emergency Response
The mic,
Team.
the mic.
Oh.
You got to bring the mic to you, yeah. And speak right into it, yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Community Emergency Response Team, CERT, educates people in the community about disaster preparedness and the hazards that may occur as a result of whatever disaster. Where CERTs are located throughout the city of Pacifica, we have approximately 56 active members. And as you can see, we have divisions of Pacifica. The Fairmont Manor is Division 1. Division 2 is Sharp Park. Division 3 is Valley Mar and Rockaway. And Division 4 is quite large, so it's divided up into two, A and B, pardon me, and that's Lindemar and Park Pacifica. And each division will have a couple of meetings over and above the other required meetings for CERT in their own areas to discuss peculiarities of the area that they might run into in the event of a disaster. The classes that we hold, and by the way, we're in our second CERT class, Pacifica's class, in the Pacifica Police Department. We're in the middle of that class, and it will graduate in a few weeks, and they will have, on their last day, an exercise where they will demonstrate the skills they've learned the past 8 weeks. The classes provide instruction on basic disaster skills, fire safety, and light search and rescue, as well as disaster medical operations. We also participate in the San Mateo County Fair's First Day, which is devoted to emergency medicine. We usually have a booth there, and we hand out literature, and we're part of the Fog Fest booth that the Emergency Preparedness Commission, and we try to recruit new members for staff. So thank you.
Great.
Our newest program is Map Your Neighborhood. It's a great handout on the back table or at the police department if you'd like to pick one up. Map Your Neighborhood is a methodology to familiarize yourself with your neighbors, your own neighborhood, the people, the skills that they have, and any equipment that might be available for local support in the event of a disaster. Once again, look for your commission as we staff the FogFest booth. And over the next year, we'll be working to expand our community programs and outreach opportunities. Thank you.
Okay. Is it time for questions?
It is time for questions. Yes, Mayor.
Did we skip over the medical branch for any particular reason? Notice I would.
Like?
Would you? Notice I would jump on that, of course.
Of course. And I'm prepared to speak on it. So in the looking ahead part, we are looking at establishing a medical branch of CERT. I know it's been important to yourself with the potential closing of Seton up in Daly City and Seton Coast Side. We want to make sure that we're able to provide medical services to our community in case of a disaster. What I have done is, at the direction of council and the mayor, is I've reached out to the county health department. I've also met with North County Fire Authority. I've talked to people in the Medical Reserve Corps that is part of the federal government, FEMA. And it's the decision's been made, rather to have a distinct Medical Reserve Corps, have a actual branch, a medical branch of our existing CERT team. And of the existing of the existing 56 members that we have a doctor, we have at least one, maybe two nurse practitioners, several registered nurses. We have people with EMT experience. In our current CERT class, of which we have 18 people in training, I actually have 4 nurses. Yeah. And all of those people are very eager to participate in extra training and be part of a medical CERT branch. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and I think logically we can have something going by the end of this year.
There has actually been people that are waiting out there in the community until that comes into fruition to sign up. So I think we'd even have more if we just put out a call.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that'd be great. And after this next class graduates in October 4th, we have the next one slated to go.
Great. Well, let me know how I can help. Councilmember Stone.
I don't really have any questions, but I just wanted to thank the commission because I served on it for a brief time as the liaison, and I have to say that you're probably one of the most organized and like advanced committees that we have. I think there's a couple things in the county that people are actually looking to us for because we're leading the way, and our emergency preparedness is one of those, along with our senior center. And when I was joined the commission, I didn't really know much about it, and that was why we like to rotate every once in a while. But I was really impressed with what you guys are doing, and where you continue to take it. I know when I was there, we were talking about things like even getting together with like the dirt bike club or the motorcycle club so that you could, you're taking it to that level so in the case of emergency, people with dirt bikes could access people that if roads were closed or other things. I just think that's fantastic. So you're just doing a fantastic job. Our geography definitely needs it because we're potentially, locked in here with only 3 access points, right? And I think really it's due to the volunteers that we have on the committee. You guys have been there a long time. And then also the PD. You guys have done a fantastic job with that. So thanks to both of you, or both the groups, and to everyone that's served. Because I have a lot of long-serving members. So thank you for everything that you've done. And like you said, I'm glad you put that. The expertise of the committee is really phenomenal too. You have heads of lots of different departments, whether it's hospitals or education or whatever it is. So thank you for your service.
Good. Mayor Pro Tem?
I really enjoyed being part of the Emergency Preparedness Committee. I'm learning a great deal, and again, I am thoroughly impressed with the commitment that you give to this committee and use your services. So not only do you partake in this committee, but you really, it's very important and it's very obvious. It's very important to all of you to do whatever you can for the community. And I'm most impressed of all with the CERT training is just amazing to me. And I also am very impressed with the fact that after the CERT training, you continue to train your members and really encourage them to come back and be part of the process so we don't lose them if it's a couple years before we have a major emergency. And they're just going to be vital to the safety of our community in case of an earthquake or any major disaster. So I really appreciate everything the police department has done and everything the committee has done. It's just been a very educational process to be part of. And I did ask a question, and I know it's just beginning, but I think it's really important to reiterate the importance and the of the Map My Neighborhood project, and I thought maybe you could comment a little more on that, because I think if everybody in every neighborhood had a lot of information about their neighbors, then we would be doing so much good to either young children or elderly in our neighborhood. And so I just thought maybe you can talk a little bit more about the Map My Neighborhood and where that stands currently.
Have been mapped. There's 9 steps to follow. Rather than going through and holding you up pages, it's actually lets you meet with the neighbors, find out who people are, when they're working, when they're home, what equipment they have they may be able to use during a disaster, things like that.
Great.
So a familiarity with your neighbors, any special medical challenges, things like that. That's where I see it coming in really most valuable in neighborhoods for people that can't get out and can't get.
Yeah.
So they're all identified when the group gets together, and then they go on and they have block parties. They stay together, they communicate, and they're ready for something when it happens.
It's an excellent idea for all our neighborhoods to consider, and I'm looking forward to seeing that program grow as well. So, thank you very much for everything.
Councilman Degree?
Yes, I've been an alternate, able to come to some of those meetings. You're extremely all heart and professionalism, and comforting to know that the city is in such good hands because they're connected to outside agencies, Red Cross, etc., and you have it all planned for us, so we can sleep well at night.
And Councilmember O'Neill?
The Ham Radio Club, they're part of Frank Urbacher. They're all part of you too. When they go up to Sweeney Ridge, is that open to the public? I mean, anybody can go up and see them? Because you got to go up there some night, and they only do it once a year. And I went up there one time, like my first year on council, and it was so foggy, I almost needed windshield wipers on my glasses. I mean, on the inside, they were getting foggy. But then they were sitting there talking to people all over the world on the ham radio, which is how they plan on communicating to people if we need help. And I thought that was really kind of cool. And you're also up at Sweeney Ridge. At that point, we couldn't see any view, but it was really kind of cool. Also, I wanted to say is the articulation committee. I'm glad to see you're meeting with the schools, because one of the first things we did in the articulation meeting was found that the schools, the city, neither the school districts, the city, or the water district could talk to each other in case of a disaster of some sort. And that's when I think each entity got some satellite phones so that each school could talk to another school if they needed to evacuate, to get the kids up from Ortega up to Terra Nova. So that it is well planned, and you're to be congratulated for all the work you do and how you make it all work together with a very tight budget.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to add my appreciation. This is definitely a love of mine, having been involved in disaster and disaster management. But most importantly, I am really thrilled to know that there are so many wonderful people like yourselves, because I have kind of dual roles right now, and I'd be in incident command somewhere else if I really had to do a Bay Area wide, and that would be not good. So I'm glad about the medical branch. I'm really interested because the only other one that was in Half Moon Bay or on the coast apparently has gone defunct. Is that correct?
As it existed in its previous state, yes, it was the Medical Reserve Corps.
Yeah.
Right now, Steve Mahaley and Nick Gattuso, who's employed with Office of Emergency Services, assigned to the Half Moon Bay and the coast side, they are reformulating it in something similar to what we're doing, where it's a branch of their CERT or a similar organization.
Well, when I leave council, that's where my interests lie. So I'm really interested in having that be more organized, in the sense of having first aid available and those sorts of things, because if we don't provide that, it may be a while. So having that in town and having it in an official capacity would be really essential to me. So thank you so much for keeping that on the burner, and thank all the former council members who participated in this in the past. I know Julie Lancell's in the audience, and certainly Sue has been a long supporter and big advocate for CERT. So yay, team. Thank you so much for coming. Is there anything we can do for you as a commission that will help you? This is kind of our joint meeting. So does anybody else want to say anything or add anything, or how we can support you better? Okay. Well, let us know, because we really do endorse you and support the work you're doing. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about the mics, they're a pain. Okay, so that brings us to item 10, which is our final item, and it is our wastewater 20-year financial plan. Didn't sound good.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Nyhart, Mayor Pro Tem Irvin, members of the council. Thank you, City Manager Tinfo, city staff that are here, and members of the public. My name is Joshua Cosgrove. I am the Assistant Superintendent of the wastewater department. The department director is Dave Grom. He is unable to be here tonight. He had a vacation scheduled months in advance, so he was unable to be here. But I am here tonight to present and discuss the 20-year financial plan for the wastewater department. Now, before I get into the financial plan, I wanted to briefly discuss the wastewater department as an organization. It is organized into two divisions. The collection system division, which maintains, cleans, makes repairs to the sanitary sewer collection system. So this is the series of pipes underneath the streets, behind homes, that collect and transport wastewater to 6 pump stations throughout the city, which then pump it to the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant, which is where the plant operations division works. And that division is responsible for operating and maintaining the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant. Now, an introduction to the 20-year financial plan. So the financial plan was a requirement in our cease and desist order, which was negotiated and finalized in 2011. That order legally obligated the city and required a 20-year financial plan to be developed by November of 2014. Now, staff began the development of that plan in 2012. It was developed by all internal staff, led by the city manager, Stephen Rhodes, and also included administrative services division and, of course, wastewater staff. We developed it in-house, and we completed that in 2012, and we completed it almost 2 years ahead of schedule, and we presented it to the council at the February 11th, 2013 City Council meeting, and it was approved that night. Now, the plan includes the years starting July 1st, 2012 to June 30th, 2032, so we are already 2 years into this plan. Now, a brief description of the enterprise fund, which is the fund for the wastewater department. It consists of 2 fund categories, Fund 18 and Fund 34. Fund 18 is the operating fund, and Fund 34 is the capital fund. And a little bit about an enterprise fund. It is structured so that the revenue that is generated can only be spent on wastewater activities. Enterprise, it's supposed to be run as a business, and the revenue that is generated can only be spent on the activities that are related to the wastewater department. And one of the things that enterprise funds, the use of them promotes, is transparency and accountability. It's very transparent, the money coming in and being spent, and the department, the city, is able to be held accountable for that. Now, this slide is a discussion of the sewer service charge rates. So these are your sewer rates and what they look like now and throughout the 20 years of the plan. So there is a existing 5-year rate structure in place that started in 2012, running till 2017, and there are sewer rate increases throughout that 5-year rate structure of approximately 3% and 4%. Now, after 2017, we project to have annual increases of approximately 3% throughout 2017 through 2027. And then from 2027 and on, we project to have no more sewer rate increases. We would hold the sewer rates steady. Now, I do want to mention in this slide, this also includes some new revenue bond issues, which come into play, of course, when you discuss sewer rates. And I have a later slide that will discuss the new revenue bonds in a little bit more detail. Now, this slide is really the heart of this presentation tonight. This is the Wastewater Enterprise Fund condensed as best as possible. It separates the fund into 5-year increments. So each of these sets of columns here, this is years 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, 16 through 20. In each of these columns, the blue are the revenues that come in during that 5-year period, the total. The red are the operating expenditures spent during that 5 years in total. The green are the capital expenditures, so the investment in our infrastructure, the total dollar amount during that 5-year period. And the purple is the plant replacement reserves balance at the end of the 5-year period. So what I want to point out to you in this slide is throughout the years, you see steady increases in sewer rates, so in the amount of revenues brought in, with a leveling off in the later years. As I mentioned, we limit the sewer rate increases. We cease the sewer rate increases in those later years. What I want to point out with the operating expenditures is you see high, if you will, operating expenditures in the first 5 years and in especially the middle years 6 through 10, because these are the years when we're spending a lot of money on capital projects, replacing a lot of sewer pipes in the collection system as part of our master plan. We are constructing an equalization basin in the Lindemar, lower Lindemar area. That's part of this, projected to be part of this plan. That's a over $20 million project. So that's why you see these operating expenditures very high in these early years, down in years 11 through 15, and really leveling off throughout the rest of the plan. And the next column, the capital expenditures, display that information. As you see, a large amount in years 1 through 5 and 6 through 10. So you have about $50 million worth of projects in these early years, and decrease in the latter part as we complete these collection system projects. We complete the projects from our master plan. And then you see it start to increase here in the later half of the plan as Calera Creek Water Recycling Plant component projects come into play. And that's what I'm trying to present with the plant replacement reserves. What you see is the reserves fairly level in these early years and then start to increase in the latter half of the plan because we're building up reserves to begin major component replacements of the Calera Creek Water Recycling Plant. The plant in these later years has, the major components have hit their life, if you will, and will need to be replaced. And we are building up reserves to begin doing that in these later years. So I'm going to go through years 1 through 5 in a little bit more detail, talking about the projects. So in years 1 through 5, total expenditures on projects of $19.6 million. Again, this is financed with the sewer service charges, so operating transfers from Fund 18 to Fund 34, and also with new debt, new revenue bonds. And the major projects in these first 5 years are the design and beginning construction of the equalization basin and collection system upgrades and replacements in Lower Lindemar, Pedro Point, and Palmetto Avenue. Because we're already 2 years into this plan, many of these projects have already been completed. Palmetto Avenue, half of the Lower Lindemar project have been completed. The other half to take place very shortly by the end of this year, and Pedro Point in the beginning of next year. The feasibility study was completed as well as the equalization basin. Years 6 through 10, over $30 million will be spent in investments in our wastewater infrastructure. Now, the main project during this period is the equalization basin project. This is the time period when we construct that basin, and that again is a over $20 million project. And there will also, though, be collection system rehab and replacement projects as well during that time period. Years 11 through 15, expenditures of approximately $9 million in capital. This will be collection system rehab and replacement projects and also pipe upgrade projects under Terranova Boulevard, Odstead Boulevard, and Manor Drive. And then finally, when we get to the out years, years 16 through 20, expenditures of $14.5 million. So again, you see the expenditures increase a little bit again, and that's because we are completing the master plan collection system projects, and now we're beginning many of the projects to replace major components of the Clara Creek water recycling plant. Now, I included here a slide on the interfund loan and pension obligation bond restructure. There's been questions from council, questions from this public on the loan, and so I wanted to include what that loan looks like, how it affects our plant reserve fund. And so that's what you're seeing in this chart here. We have beginning fiscal year 14-15 running to fiscal year 2021, which is the time of the loan. The loan amount in total is $2.1 million. There are 3 separate payments, loan amounts, beginning in 14-15 of a little over $640,000, 15-16, $690, fiscal year 16-17, $790. That's from the wastewater department to the city. That's the loan. You see that these are our reserves without the loan, and this is how it affects the reserves. And you see it goes, it is $6 million in reserves to 5.4 to $7.5 million. And then in these years, the city begins to pay back the loan. And so you see payments of 170, 146, and so on from the general fund to the wastewater department. And you see how that affects our plant replacement reserves here. And you see the plant replacement reserve fund never drops below $4.2 million. So I want to point that out. And I want to also point out that the plant replacement reserves, these are funds set aside that when we get to those out years and those major component projects of Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant need to be done, that's what this money is being saved for. So we would not utilize these funds unless it really was a total emergency. And we've never had an emergency where we would have to dip into these funds. So we're very confident that this loan will be made without affecting our operations. Now, this is a slide on the new revenue bonds that are part of this 20-year plan. They are identified to finance some of the major master plan collection system projects, most notably the Equalization Basin project in Lower Lindemar. We plan on going out for them in approximately 2016, 2019, 2027. So the $18 million in 2016, again, that's to begin financing the Lower Lindemar Equalization Basin project. Now, some of the reasons for these new revenue bonds are, one, when I discussed the sewer service rates, sewer service charges, I mentioned how steady they are, and financing through revenue bonds helps us to smooth those rates, keep them steady. If we had to make complete the $20 million Lower Lindemar project in 2 years' time, that would greatly affect the sewer rates. We would see dramatic increases in when we began construction and then coming back down when we completed that project. So that's one of the reasons why we use these revenue bonds. And another reason has to deal with an issue of equity and mitigating the issue of equity. So I think the Equalization Basin project is a good example of this. This is a facility, this is a project that will benefit not just us, the existing cohort of users, if you will. This will benefit those in the future as well, beyond our generation. And so financing through revenue bonds allows the entire cohort of users to pay for the construction of this facility. So it also helps mitigate the equity issue with some of these large projects. So in conclusion, the 20-year financial plan, we were legally obligated to develop it by our 2011 cease and desist order, which we did, completed almost 2 years, almost 2 years in advance, excuse me. It provides for small and consistent sewer rate increases that cease at the end of the plan. It funds and finances over $50 million of capital projects, and it also builds up a reserves at the end of the plan to begin replacing major components of the Clare Creek water recycling plant. And that is the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I've got several. Then I've always been into the sewer plant, so does anybody else want to go first? Okay. Couple of things that occurred to me as we're going through this, because when this old plant came online and used Clean Water Act money to do it, it basically became obsolete almost instantaneously when we put in some of the big mains coming from North End and connected everything up. We were over capacity. And what we're putting in the collection system for, the equalization basin, is basically if the current plant overruns, right?
That's one of the things it does, yes. It allows, in the event of a major storm, when there are heavy flows.
Right.
It allows
have some place to go.
Exactly, so that we can equalize the flow coming to the plant. But what it also does, an important component of that project as well, is it allows us to perform maintenance on our force main that runs from the southern into town to Clare Creek and the northern to Clare Creek.
So you can hold it, because the reason I'm coming up with this is because, of course, right now, and with your water district involvement, you kind of understand that it's hard to imagine the 5 sequencing batch reactors that we have handling 5 million gallons per day each being overwhelmed when we run between, what, 3 and 4 million?
Actually, we averaged in 2013 a little under 2.5 million gallons a day.
Yeah. So we have a lot of capacity in our current plant to handle it, but obviously we have had in the past so much inflow, it's just been too much. Do you think that drop that you're seeing already is from some of the improvements we've made in the collection system?
I believe that the improvements we've made in the collection system have decreased the amount of infiltration.
And the fact that we're in a drought.
And the other point is, yes, we're in the middle of a 3-year drought that makes it very difficult to assess how effective these replacements have been so far.
Right.
So that is one of the difficulties. We are greatly scrutinizing the equalization basin project, and it is more complex because we're in the middle of the 3-year drought.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to ask about is we spent a lot of time back when we replaced this plant looking at the different options that were available for tertiary treatment. And we put ourselves way ahead of much of the rest of the Bay Area that is now dealing with this. I mean, huge rate hikes in sewer rates, because wastewater rates, I should say, because they're having to build the plants that we built, in the late 90s. So are we very sure that the technology that we have, and especially in terms of the sequencing batch reactors, is going to be something we stick with for tertiary treatment?
Yes. In my estimation of where the wastewater industry is going, sequencing batch reactor for the biological process is very appropriate going forward past our lifetimes. And I think Clara Creek, as it hits its life, if you will, and we begin major component replacement projects, it will continue to serve this community very well into the future.
So when you're talking about replacing, this gets to my last question, is the one about replacing major components. You're talking about the digesters or the batch reactors themselves or something along those lines?
Basically, the parts of the various systems. So like with the sequencing batch reactors, they're basically giant tanks, and inside of them are pipelines that run throughout with a couple of pumps that have blowers attached to them. So the pipeline, the pumps, the blowers, those are the type of components that will need to be replaced when we hit the end of the financial plan. The actual tank itself, the concrete, the roof, things like that, they're not going to be torn down and replaced. It's going to be those components like the pumps and the motors, the pipes, things of that nature.
And just a couple other things that occur to me. In terms of just operating costs, how are our solar systems, our solar panels doing? Are they covering what percentage?
They're about 15 to 20%. They cover of the power usage of the wastewater treatment, the water recycling facility. And the reason it's so low, it actually would be higher if we had a different disinfection process. So we disinfect the effluent, the water we produce, using ultraviolet light disinfection.
Right.
And that's very power intensive. So, and we desired to do that because we wanted to limit the amount of chemicals we use. Other plants will use like chlorine to disinfect, and then that's very problematic for your downstream.
Well, we have a
sources.
creek, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So but with ultraviolet light, one of the weaknesses of ultraviolet light is it has a high power requirements. So, but it's successful. The solar panels are successful in providing, again, 15 to 20% of our power.
Are we looking at opportunities to increase efficiency of those solar panels?
We are actually about to do a project to replace solar panels here at the council chambers. And I believe we are also, we're constantly looking at new technology, and I don't know specifically about solar panels at Clare Creek, and I can certainly check on that.
The reason I ask is I was able to cover, just in terms of a house, a much reduced size, and it greatly increased my output just by changing efficiency. So I was wondering, because we got those about the same time as the plant opened, so, okay.
Yeah,
but that could help.
Yeah, we've been looking very heavily at energy savings at Clare Creek Water Recycling Plant.
Right, right. Thanks so much. That was a good presentation. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, excellent presentation, and I appreciated hearing it. In terms of, you mentioned in the report that there's concern because you had anticipated a slight increase in the water consumption, and now that we're in the middle of a severe drought, we're looking at a potentially much lower use of water, and you said you're going to be analyzing that. And I'm wondering, how often do you analyze that, and when do you think you might have to come to council in terms of what the flow rate is and how sewer rates match with what was projected?
We have every intention, we shall remain within the 5-year rate structure that was set by council in 2012. Okay. The way we have dealt with the mismatch in what we projected the flows to be and what they actually are basically cutting back in however many areas we can, whether it's operating or capital. One of the things we've been fortunate with as far as our capital projects, some of our big projects have come in under the engineer's estimate because there are many contractors out there that are very hungry for jobs. So like the Lower Lindemar project came in quite under budget. So we've seen some savings there. So we're doing everything we can to work within that 5-year rate structure, and we will stay within it. And as far as how often we analyze it, I mean, it's constantly we analyze the flow. We constantly monitor the flow that comes in and think about how that affects sewer rates.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. One other question I had was about the equalization basin, and I know we've discussed this before, but I just want to talk about, I know some people don't like the idea of having the equalization basin. Do we have an option of whether to have an equalization basin or not, or is that part of the cease and desist order? Is there any other way to address this issue?
The cease and desist order and consent decree required a master plan and required us to follow that master plan. And the master plan had two options for how to deal with flow equalization or heavy wet weather flows. One was the equalization basin, and the other was a parallel force main with a new pump at Lindemar Pump Station. So we are legally obligated to do one of those two projects. So far, our best analysis is that the equalization basin project makes more sense than a parallel force main. So a force main that would start at Lindemar Pump Station, so at Lindemar Beach, cross the highway somewhere, and then run up on the east side of Lindemar into Rockaway, into Valimar, and then into Clare. That would be a very complex project as well. But we are obligated for one of those two projects as per our master plan, the cease and desist order.
And would there be a big difference in price? Just curious, between the equalization basin. You may not know that at this time, but I'm just...
I'm pretty sure, I'm again guessing, and I'm happy to get this information. I'm pretty sure the projects were very similar in cost. The engineer's estimate, if I remember correctly, were very close, the same.
Okay.
But I don't know off the top of my head, but I can get that for you. It's in our master plan.
But I thought the technology and the difficulty of acquiring, they were quite different, and the outcomes were different.
Yes, they're both complex projects. Force main may be a little bit more complex because you're dealing with more property owners.
Yeah.
They're both complex projects.
Yeah.
And you still feel like with the 40, I think it was what, $43 or $47 million reserve at the end of the 20-year plan, that's going to be enough to replace the sewer? That's the idea, right? That we'll be able to replace the plan at that time.
Yeah, the major components of the plan. Yeah, we spent, when I talked about internal staff developing this plan, I mean, we spent a lot of time talking, about what are those projects that we're going to need to have done 20 years in the future when the major components of Clara Creek hit their life. Now, again, this is 20 years in the future, 18 years now. Things can change, but we talked about it, discussed it, analyzed it a lot, and that's our best estimate that that's what will be appropriate.
Thank you. Nicely done.
Councilmember Degree.
On both of those options, I'm assuming that one of the questions is the amount of stink, shall we say? Does that come in?
Well, the feasibility study for the equalization basin project, as part of it was an odor control system. There's a design for that as part of that project. But we're dealing with wastewater, and so that is certainly one of the concerns that we have whenever we build a new wastewater facility, are odors, and of course that's a concern of property owners or residents in the area of that project. But we are, in our plan, will be in the design to mitigate that through an odor control system.
Good to know.
I really just want to say, well, Councilmember O'Neill, and then I'll say it.
You could have went first.
No, I was going to wrap it up.
This is going way back when, but I seem to remember that we were going to try to make some money off, I think it's called the sludge, hauling it up to the vineyards for fertilizer and stuff. And there was also, I remember, some talk that we might even handle some of Daly City's. And I was just wondering, are either of those, if they are dead, how come?
No, I wouldn't describe either of them as dead. I wish Director Dave Grom was here. He was really one of the big proponents of somehow or another packaging, marketing our biosolids, if you will, the sludge, because we do produce what's called Class A biosolids. It can be reused anywhere. So that is something he's very interested in. It's also a complex project on how to do that, and we discuss it, but there's really no major plan yet. But it's definitely still on our radar, and it's definitely doable. And then your other question was
Daly City.
With Daly City. We have a very good and close relationship with Daly City Water Wastewater Department, and we have, we help them on certain projects. They help us, and one of the things we have looked at, just in brief discussions with them, is the northern, or for Daly City, southern basin there, in northern part of Pacifica. That basin there, the way it flows, Daly City has to pump all that up into their system, whereas if it came into Pacifica, it could roughly, by gravity flow into Pacifica. And it makes a lot of sense to talk about that, and so we are. Daly City themselves actually just hired a company to analyze doing something like that. But that's something that, again, really needs to be discussed heavily, because we are under a cease and desist order and consent decree. So if we take new flows, we have to make sure that we have the capacity for it. And it was not part of our master plan. So long story short, we are talking about it, and it is a potential project. But it's really in the initial stages of talking about it right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Just in terms of that consent decree, would we have to go back to court on that one, I would assume? 'Cause
You would have to most likely go back to the board to get an amendment, which we've done before, but yeah, there are a lot of steps that would have to be undertaken before.
I mean, it might initially make sense in the terms of income that we think about it on the surface, but when we look at what we have to go through until that collection basin is in place, I can't even picture these people talking to us. I don't know, just my guess. I just remember those. I have flashbacks of Oakland. It was frightening. I just wanted to say what I was going to say earlier. Thank you very much. And I would encourage the council to go. If you haven't gone down, I would encourage you to go, because these guys will show you the plant. And I've been through all aspects of it, and I love it. I don't know why. What's wrong with me? But it is a very efficient, good, useful system, and I appreciate that. So what I need is just acceptance of the report. Is that right?
Is there any public comment first?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, then we just need Councilwoman DeGree?
Well, I just had a comment. I was waiting for the public.
Okay.
Excellent report, excellent plan.
I had no
Shows a lot of
cards.
hard work. Thank you very much.
I had no card, so I'm sorry if I didn't call it. Councilmember Stone?
Thank you for the presentation. Very professional and thorough as always. Thank you, Josh. And I just want to move that we accept the updated 20-year financial plan of the wastewater department.
Councilmember O'Neill?
I'll second it, but it's kind of sad that all the critics about the sewer treatment plant and looking out there, it's almost empty.
I know.
Yeah. You can catch
No.
it on PCT 26.
Actually,
I
we have a
second the
couple
motion.
of really good episodes out there about the sewer plant that goes through all the pieces that we did on the Pacifica history. So,
I do second it also.
okay, then please vote. And that passes 5-0. And that brings us to the end of our meeting, but I would like to acknowledge the loss of Vi Catelli, who was a former council member, and close the meeting and do justice in her honor. She was a former council member here, and we respect our condolences go to her family and our best wishes. Thank you.